Okay, part 2, digestive system. We had an interruption, so I had to stop filming. And I don't know if there's a way I can pause this. Oh, there is. Okay, now I know. I'm going to try pausing it again. Yep, okay. So I can pause the video instead of shutting it down and having to redo another video. So I apologize for that. Keep rolling. Okay, so we're going to list some accessory organs that go with the digestive system that help break down the food. Okay. Okay, so that would be the liver, the gallbladder, which helps the liver. Okay, these break down lipids or fats. Okay, and your pancreas, right? We just talked about the pancreas in the endocrine system. This helps control sugar in the body. Okay, give you a chance to copy that down. So liver and gallbladder, again, are connected to the stomach, and we'll get into that. When you, I don't know, someone's texting me, sorry. So this is right side, this is left side, right? Do it from your perspective. Your stomach is right up here, okay? Most people think that the stomach is down here, okay? Oh, my stomach hurts. But actually, that's not really the case. Your stomach is way up high. So a lot of times when you get indigestion, people think they're having a heart attack because the heart is in close proximity to that stomach, okay? The liver sort of comes on this side and it does cross over. Sorry, let me take this off. Oh, it's driving me crazy anyway. The liver is on this side, comes across, part of it comes across on the stomach side to connect to the stomach. And then your gallbladder is there too, and your pancreas is right underneath. So from right where your diaphragm is, right in this section, is where all your digestional organs are, and then your small intestines and large intestines, okay? So when you have a stomach ache, it should actually be up here by the rib a little bit. Okay, so ingestion, we're going to talk about a couple of word terminology here, vocabulary. Make sure you write this down. Okay, so I'm going to erase this. Hang on. Okay. And again, if you miss something that you have to go back and take a note on, just stop the video, rewind it, and then come back to me. Okay, so we have a couple of vocabulary words. Ingestion versus digestion. Okay, this may be on an NBLEX, so make sure you pay attention. Then we have secretion, absorption, and defecation. Hopefully you all know what that one already means. Where's my brown marker? Okay. Those are supposed to be flies buzzing around the poop. Get it? Okay. Listen, this is cheap comedy. What can I tell you? Okay, so ingestion versus digestion. Ingestion is the act of eating or drinking. Okay, so food is entering your mouth. That's it. Food comes in, you've ingested it, taken it in. Remember in the cells, our little Pac-Man, okay, they ingest the pathogen and then poop it out, right? So this is on a grander scheme, but it still happens even on a cellular level. Okay, so that is our ingestion. Our digestion is the breaking down a solid or liquid into chemicals, okay? Because again, the body cannot take your whole slice of pizza and use it. It has to be broken down into protein, fat, all that fun stuff, okay? So digestion is the breaking down of materials into simple molecules using acid, using enzymes, and using physical force. Okay, so secretion is when the body uses chemicals or enzymes to break down that food. Okay, so again, you're taking a solid and you're breaking it down to a chemical that the body can use. So you will secrete, again, acid, hydrochloric acid, amylase, which is in your saliva. These are enzymes. So if you've ever gone back in the 80s, Maria, I know you love my 80s references. If you've ever watched The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, as he's transitioning into this monster, he can't chew his food anymore because he's lost all his teeth. I would show you the video, but it'll take too long, and it's like a 2-second video, but you can look it up. So he throws up acid onto his food and then re-eats it. It's kind of gross, but it's actually the way a lot of animals process and digest their food. So check it out, it's pretty cool. All right, so absorption, we know that means that the body is taking in the nutrients it needs. Okay, we are absorbing those things that we need, vitamins, minerals, stuff like that, okay? So absorption, after the body secretes those enzymes, the body will then absorb the things it needs, and then it gets rid of the waste. Okay, this is waste. If you don't get rid of waste, what do you think happens? It turns into poison in the body, and you can get sepsis and die. So for people who are not regularly pooping, they are often more sick than other people. So you should be pooping how many times a day? I know I've told you, twice a day. Once in the morning when you get up, once in the afternoon or the evening time. Okay, so defecation, mucho importante. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to show you your digestive system. You have this picture in your book. Okay, I'm going to turn you around. Okay, so here's where the food comes in. Now remember, on the respiratory side, here's your trachea. So that epiglottis has to close in order for the food to get pushed past the trachea, right? Because we don't want any food in the lungs. It comes to the esophagus and down behind the liver. Here's your liver and your gallbladder, pretty big, to the stomach. Okay, so it comes from here down into the stomach. Then it meets up with the small intestines. Okay, and we'll go over why these are small and these are large. And then it comes in through the large intestines. The large intestines is basically packaging your waste product. Okay, here's where all your digestion happens, most of it, not all, some does happen in here, but most of it is in here. And then whatever's left comes out as waste. Okay, so there's a lot cramming in your thoracic area, not to mention your lungs and your heart. So this abdominal area is pretty jam-packed with stuff. So hopefully I programmed that right so you could see that. Okay, and again, look at it in your book if you need additional help. Okay, so let's talk about your GI tract. Okay. The digestive system is also known as the gastrointestinal tract. That's with a T on the end, not a K, tract. If you go and you have the stomach flu, or if you have an infection in your intestines, they will say you have a gastrointestinal flu or something like that, infection. Another word for gastrointestinal tract is the alimentary canal. Lots of different names. Okay, alimentary canal. I've seen that one on the MBLEX, so please make sure you write those two down. This way you know either way. Okay, so you might see digestive system, you might see gastrointestinal system, you might see alimentary canal. It could be any one of those. Okay, moving on. Inside this tract is, we said, smooth muscle. Okay, every time I say that word, I want to start singing Michael Jackson. Smooth criminal. Okay, I digress. Smooth muscle. So how did we say smooth muscle works? Come on, you know that P word. Peristalsis. Okay, the stomach has waves of muscle, and those waves move things through that alimentary canal. Okay, the esophagus is also smooth muscle, so all of this moves. On the smooth muscle, there are these little hairs. There's different names for the hair. Okay, it could be cilia, could be vibrissae, it could be villi. Okay, it just really depends where it is in the body. Cilia is usually in the respiratory system, but could be anywhere. So these hairs have a wave-like motion, and they sort of push the food along. So technically, I've said this a few times, I don't know if any of you have tested it, technically you can eat and drink upside down, because it's not gravity that's bringing that food down, it's peristalsis. So technically, scientifically, you should be able to stand on your head and eat something. Would I recommend it? No, because remember, the nose and the mouth have an open space, and if you choke, it's going to come out your nose. Not fun. Okay, so smooth muscle, peristalsis brings the ingested food in, sends it down. But there's a few things that happen before we even get to the back of the throat. Okay. Okay, we're going to go back and talk about the oral cavity. Okay, what is a cavity? A hole, that's right, it's a space. Oral cavity. It's a space where things are. Teeth, tongue, salivary glands, and your taste buds. Okay, now can the taste buds taste? No, they can't. Remember, taste buds don't know what you're eating. What determines if you like what you're eating? Brain, right? Cerebrum. Cerebrum takes that sensory information in and processes it and sees what you like and what you don't like. Because again, not everybody likes the same things. I personally am not a sour person. Once in a while I'll eat a pickle, but don't like Sour Patch Kids or anything like that. I prefer sweet. Some people prefer salty. It all depends on your prior experiences in life and what your brain is processing. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to go over all the teeth information. You pretty much know how many teeth you have in your mouth. The front teeth are for biting, right? Peanut butter jelly, soft things. Your canines, which are those sharp teeth, they're for biting and tearing. And then your molars in the back are for grinding, okay? So like we said, you can't swallow a whole thing of pizza, right? We have to chew it. And of course, the more you chew it, the more the brain gets signaled that you're no longer hungry because you're actually ingesting food. But that can take a good 15, 20 minutes. So sometimes we've already overeaten when we're not hungry anymore because the brain took a couple of minutes to catch up. So that's why they tell you to eat slowly, because it gives your brain time to process the fact that you're really not hungry anymore. And a lot of times you're not even really hungry, you're thirsty because you're dehydrated. So that's again why they say drink water first, because you might just be thirsty and not hungry, and why take in extra calories. Okay, so teeth, again, grind up the food. Okay, and it creates a food ball called a bolus. Okay, so a bolus is actually a little tiny ball of food that you have chewed up, added saliva to it, broken it down, and now it's ready to be swallowed. Okay, the way we do that is with these salivary glands. Okay, you have 3 sets of salivary glands: parotid, which is in the back of the throat; submandibular, which is under the mandible or the jaw; and I always forget that third one. Hold on, let me go look for it. Sublingual. Thank you. I heard you. Sublingual, under the tongue. Okay, so this is back of throat, and you'll see pictures of it. Back of throat, under jaw, and under tongue. Okay, so even the thought of food, let me bring that over. Okay, can you see that? Okay. Even the thought of food can trigger these salivary glands, right? So we're sitting in class ignoring what I'm saying, and we're thinking about that burger we're going to have later, or going over to Cookout and get one of their shakes, right? Your mouth can start to water because it's like, yeah, let's get ready and receive that food and ingest it. Okay, so you can start to salivate just by thinking about something. Okay, so you can grind up the food, make it into the little ball. The tongue will push it back. Okay, tongue and taste buds sort of go together. Push it towards that oropharynx section and get it ready to be sent to the esophagus. Okay, so again, taste buds can sense sweet, salty, spicy, sour, and I think there's one more. Salty, sweet, spicy, sour, savory maybe? Or maybe savory and spicy go together. So depending on what you're eating, you might eat more of it because it tastes good and you like it. Okay, so this is just the oral cavity. Okay, any questions on that? Just email me or check it out in your book again. Okay, hopefully you got all that down. If you need to, rewind it, watch it again, or just check your book. Okay, so the act of chewing something is called mastication. Okay, and that is the physical breakdown of the food. All the rest is done chemically. Okay, physical breakdown of food. We're actually physically tearing it, grinding it, rolling it around, adding saliva to it, getting it ready for bite-sized pieces to be sent down. Because if you try to swallow something that is too large, you're going to choke, right? The body will not let you hurt it. So it's going to expel that. Or if you eat too fast, you might end up with hiccups because you're taking in too much air as you're eating, putting your diaphragm into spasm. Okay, so just so you know, we're on 20 minutes. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, let's talk about the esophagus. So we've gotten the food to the back of the throat, and it has to go to the esophagus, which goes to the stomach. Okay, there is a sphincter where that happens. Okay, sphincter number 1. So here's your esophagus, right? It's just a hollow tube. Here is the stomach. Okay, there's a sphincter here. Actually, I should probably do that in a different color so you can see it here. Okay, that is called the esophageal sphincter. Makes sense, right? Connects the esophagus to the stomach. Okay. Now, why do we need a sphincter here? Any idea? Why do we need a trap door there? Well, inside this stomach is going to be, like we said, hydrochloric acid and all these enzymes that help break down food. So if that sphincter isn't working, that acid that's churning around in here starts to go back up the esophagus. And that is what heartburn basically is. Even though it's not technically your heart burning, it's your esophageal tube that comes behind the heart, and some people can feel it all the way up the throat. Okay, so if you have acid reflux, this is what's happening. That sphincter is not working, and sometimes you actually need it repaired. Okay, so it helps prevent acid backwash. Make sense? Beautiful. Okay. So technically there is a lower sphincter and an upper sphincter. Okay, but really we just sort of call it the esophageal sphincter. It's all one. Okay, and this is involuntary, right? We don't control that. You don't have to think about opening it up because smooth muscle is involuntary, correct? There are some sphincters that are both voluntary and involuntary. When we get out to the waist side, we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay, so lining this esophagus is mucus. Ew. Okay. It helps the food to slide down, so we need it in there. So you do have a little bit of a mucus lining there. And there's also a lining of mucus on the stomach because if we didn't have that, the acid would burn right through our stomach. So that's why that good bacteria, the good flora in the stomach is so important, because it helps our stomach lining from being eaten from the inside out. Okay, all right, let's talk about the stomach itself. And I know this is Darren's favorite part. All right, so let me draw our stomach. Okay, again, here's our sphincter. Here's our esophagus coming down. Okay, so now we have the stomach. Okay, and then here's the exit to the small intestines. Okay, actually that looks more like an apple than a stomach. Sorry, let me fix it. Okay. All right, so again, your stomach is divided into 3 parts. Can you see that? I hope so. Sometimes I wonder if it's better with the light off or on. The first part of the stomach is called, the fundus. Okay, that's the upper part of the stomach. The main part is called the body. Makes sense? And then right over here, you have the pylorus, which is the exit to the small intestines. Okay, let's see if I can shift that a little bit. Okay. So the fundus is where the food first enters, even though it looks like it's over here, it's actually over here. And that's when we first drop those boluses in. Okay, so they're still solid at this point. But what's in the stomach are these little folds of muscle. Okay, Darren, you know what they're called, right? Okay, all these little folds look like ridges. And if you look at your textbook, you'll see what I'm talking about. All these ridges are known as rugae, okay? And anybody who knows me and has seen this before knows that the only way I can remember that is, hey, rugae, okay? It just rhymes, it sounds fun, I like it. So rugae, okay? Again, folds in the stomach, used for mixing. Okay, so think about this as a cement mixer. Okay, obviously your stomach is not doing circles, but the rugae in the stomach is moving and it's like churning that food bolus. Okay, while that is going on, you have your enzymes that are being secreted. Okay, again, you have hydrochloric acid. You have pepsin. There's another one, I'll get to it and I'll add it there, okay? The whole stomach is churning this acid and it breaks down the bolus into those parts that the body can absorb. Protein, carbohydrate, and other amino acids, vitamins, minerals, fats, stuff like that. Now what's interesting is a lot of the carbohydrates we eat and the sugars we eat start digesting in the mouth because of that amylase in the saliva. Okay, and I don't know if I mentioned that, but write that word down. Hopefully you can see that. It's amylase, amylase. So the amylase will start breaking down sugar in the mouth. So if you've ever eaten cotton candy, you know that it never makes it to your stomach because it's gone. It's already gone. So Sugar is probably one of the only things that starts digesting in the mouth. Everything else starts to break down in the stomach, okay? So we're churning, we're churning, we're churning. We've broken the solid down into just chemical at this point. And then we have to exit to the small intestine, okay? Some things get absorbed here in the stomach, like alcohol, medication, some protein, okay? Everything else heads over to the small intestine. Chyme, that's another thing that gets released in here, and that's actually because of the liver. C-H-Y-M-E, chyme, it's pronounced like a K. Okay, so that's another acid. So as we get to, let me bring it back a little bit. As we get to the small intestine, there's another sphincter here. Okay, and that sphincter is called the pyloric sphincter. Okay, again, it is, what's the word I'm looking for? Involuntary, right? We don't control that, it just goes on its own. So, internal sphincter lets the food come into the stomach mixes it up, it absorbs some things and sends the rest of it to the pyloric sphincter to get processed in the small intestine. Okay, all right, I think I got everything there. Okay, if you look in your book, and I will turn you around again so you can see my screen. Okay, here is the esophagus coming in, here's the fundus, the body, and then the pyloric sphincter going to the small intestine. But here you can see the folds of muscle, the rugae. Hey, rugae. Okay. Inside the rugae are these hair-like structures that help churn the food. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Okay, sorry if I'm making you nauseous. Okay, so that's the stomach and what it does. Come back to us. I'm going to cut this video here and we'll start a new video for small and large intestines and defecation and all that in our part 3. Okay, thanks for hanging with me.